Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So much happening with Palantir, and this video is very interesting because it makes Palantir stock price look really cheap. So there is a lot of debate in the Palantir community if the stock is overvalued or undervalued, overpriced, underpriced. So the thing is, valuation has to do with your assumptions, right? Because of the bear market, we had to bring down our assumptions to rock bottom levels, 20% growth, and that would give you a fair value for Palantir between $10 to $12. Okay, we're at 14, right? So compared to that assumption, we are overvalued. However, assumptions. Because, you know, Nvidia reported earnings and it showed that this AI thing is real, people are spending money on it, and they increased their guidance from 7 billion to 11 billion, which is, it's quite late at night. It's like a 40-something%, or is it 50, whatever, it's late at night. Huge increase in their guidance. And the point is that the market is pricing in that Palantir is going to do the same. And at this point, it's a very educated gamble to think that, and if you're right, so if Palantir is going to grow at 35 to 40%, even a $20 or maybe a $24 stock price is, that's where the fair value is. Okay, so you're getting an insane deal at this $15 price that we have today. So what do we have to go off of? It's interviews like this. Karp doesn't give us a lot of clues. I want you to watch this interview, watch his confidence, watch what he's saying. I'm going to comment on certain things, and let's see what we can do with an educated guess. Spoiler alert, I mean, I cannot predict the future stock price, but I'm not selling any shares, okay? So let's watch this very interesting interview.
3 weeks ago, you said that Palantir's plan for AI.
By the way, please make sure you like the video and you subscribe to the channel and check out my Twitter. Vince is bullish. It's been blowing up lately.
Was, quote, just take the whole market. How's that going?
Well, you know, unlike most people, we've been involved in what people call AI for the last 5, 6, 7 years in the classified environment, building systems that will allow you to identify.
I'm sorry, this is too fast, so I'm going to put it back to normal speed. So he was asked about taking the whole market in AIP, which is very important for us because it's expansion. Are their revenues going to grow? And what pricing strategy are they going to use? Because if they charge too little in the beginning, it actually makes margins look worse, but it's fantastic for us long-term investors in the future.
Material positions. And in that context, we've built proprietary technology that will allow you to work with large language models, securely enhance them, roll them across your whole enterprise. You know, I've been at this for about 20 years, and I know it will take everyone else 4 or 5 years to build this. We're rolling it out. Our customer base is large, and we have, you know, usually we wait for, we have to go out and find people. Now we have customers, especially in the US, just calling us every day.
You said the demand is huge. Yeah. Can you quantify it?
Well, you know, usually, we've had a number of inbound calls in a year that we usually have in a year in like a month. And then,
so what, again, this is very tricky. Again, now you're doing educated gambling. So the number of inbound calls that they normally have in a year, it happened in a month. So that is a 10 to 12x expansion. So if they had, you realize that, and then we don't know how much they're closing on these cycles, okay? So that's a whole new missing data. But if they're closing in the same ratio as before, it can even be that they're closing on a higher ratio because now everybody wants AI, okay? So that is like they had 30 new customers last quarter and now they have 300 new customers. And I'm sorry that I talk so much on this interview. Very misunderstood thing about Palantir is they have huge mature relationships with their top 20 clients. That is more than 50% of Palantir's revenue. This is very important to understand. And the new customers usually come in, Palantir charges very little, and then Palantir scales in those organizations. So even if they have a lot of new clients, it doesn't necessarily mean that this year going to expand 30-40%, but it gives you a very good clue for the future years. So it's very important to understand.
We're at a conference. You go next door, there are customers showing potential customers how to use our product.
It's in a demo sense.
Well, it's on real data. It's things that they've done. So right now, the whole world is hungry for something that it understands as AI, which is really AI or large language models. We are actually have customers using our products, showing other customers how to do it. I mean, this is like you release a song and everyone else playing it. It's like, okay, great, we're very happy. And you know, the thing...
Again, this is another clue. He's going to all these interviews, you know, the Copenhagen Forum, all these forums, they're all on Arnie's channel. You can watch those interviews, and probably what he sees is that the customers that are there, they're showing his products to other customers, and they're not even involved in the sales, which is the best kind of sales. This is like, the, you know, the word of mouth sales. And again, this is another sign pointing at them potentially having to raise guidance, and us investors having to readjust our valuation of Palantir.
The U.S. market is just hungry for innovation. It's hungry for things it's now beginning beginning to understand it needs, like an ability to map an LLM onto your enterprise securely, ability to enhance the output of a large language model, and what's the output? Better margins, better safety. You can change your enterprise in weeks.
I just want to jump in and ask a very basic question. AIP, is it built on GPT-4 or a different foundational model? What is the underlying tech?
We are completely agnostic to whatever large language model you want to use. Large language models have certain attributes, like they can give you reasoning. But you can't import that reasoning into your enterprise. What AIP does is allow you to take the benefits of the large language model, enhance them with algorithms that we help you build, and roll it securely across your whole enterprise. And what does that mean? It means you get all the benefits of a large language model in your enterprise today. Not in 5 years, not something that writes poetry. We're not offering people poetry writing in their enterprise. We're offering things that are so powerful that in reality, I'm not sure we should even sell this to some of our clients, like national security.
Who are those clients? Well, who are those clients? Proportionately, when you think about demand, how much is coming from the defense use case, since you kind of gave more flesh to the AI bones at during that earnings call?
Look, what's driving our demand for our product in defense is simply what people have seen on the battlefield. And that's very sensitive and very classified. But the demand for that is very large. It's going to get larger. Why is it going to get larger? Because America is the best at software. Software that's built on a product is in high demand in defense. Why is it also in demand? Because until 2 years ago, everyone thought this was a joke. We were building systems over the last 5 years that are deadly. Those deadly systems have changed the course of history. It's no longer madman saying this. You see it on the battlefield. In U.S. commercial...
By the way, is it just me, or is this like him talking about increased reach from customers, but from a complete other angle? So he said that the government and military applications, they're coming to them because of what they see in Ukraine. So this is just another indication to me that there is increased demand.
Industry is the most adaptive in the world, and they are hungry. Our clients are hungry for things that will give them a disproportionate advantage on margins, on safety, on secure use of LLMs, on making sure this is not just some poetry recreating what somebody said, but actually can create actual tangible difference. And we are rolling it out, and we're very happy.
For our global Bloomberg television and radio audiences, we are at AIP Con. We're joined by the CEO of Palantir, Alex Karp. During that earnings call, you said, we have no pricing strategy. We're going to create a lot of value, we're going to get hundreds of customers, and we will price it as we go. Have you made any progress on pricing strategy since that point?
No. Why? Okay,
why so relaxed about it?
Because it's like one of these things. Like when you go to a bar, you know everyone wants to meet you. Do you have a pricing strategy when you go to the bar? No. You're like, oh, I'm cool. I know we have the best product on the market. I know customers will pay us fairly. I know that it's much more valuable than anyone will understand until they install it. And we will sort out. To make it like slightly academic, I believe in Pareto optimization. We are going to create a lot of value, and we're going to get some portion of that value. And customers are smart; they'll pay you some portion of the value. Why should I? Just as an axiomatic thing, if you have a software product, you always want to get paid after you deliver value. If you've got a PowerPoint, something that doesn't work, something that's not valuable, you want to get paid before you create value. We know it's valuable. We know it's much more valuable than people understand. We know we're going to continue to augment that value, and we're going to get paid along the way.
Well, the counter consideration is how much you invest in the product.
But we've already invested billions in building these things in various components over the last 20 years. and we have the IP, and we're basically sewing it together and adding things on top of it. And so we know we have the IP. We're certain of the value. Why would we? So again, I come to you. I'm like, hey, I'm certain this is very valuable. Pay me $10 million. What are you going to say?
Well, I don't know.
So this was such a savage way of explaining Palantir. They're so certain of the value that they know that they're going to get paid from the customer. And this is the conundrum that we as shareholders are faced with, because this also means that their revenue is not going to grow until these customers decide to pay. And how long are these pilot projects? They don't break out how many pilot projects they have, how long they are, what are they expecting from these. So this is why, as I said in many videos, the only real KPI to look at as regards to Palantir is the increase of customers. If you see that the number of customers is growing, go back to bed, sleep as a Palantir investor, don't do anything with your shares. If the customers are not growing, shit your pants and sell the heck out of the stock. And be really smart as an investor, because what you might end up seeing is a huge growth in customers, but a stagnant revenue. But that's going to be only on the short term, and it's only going to be the smart investors who understand that the revenue is going to boom on the other end of this.
If I were a customer.
Well, okay. Give me your British charm.
Well, in this,
for your British charm.
My British charm, if I were a customer, would say this is a really hard environment. If I think about cloud,
exactly,
customers are looking for value, but the lowest price.
So now, if you believe you have the best product in the world, what are you going to say? Okay, great. Let's not even have that discussion. I'll create the value. You tell me how much value it create. By the way, if you don't want to pay me, then I'll go to someone else who will. You can have different margins than the person who'll pay me. You can have a different safety profile than the people. You can have a different ability to control your whole business from your laptop than someone else, because the person who valued it paid me. And you don't want to pay me? Great.
Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir Technologies. This morning, the Bear Cave, a Substack-based newsletter, put out a negative report akin to a short report. Let me just read one of the claims. The Bear Cave believes Palantir is an AI imposter engaging in spurious games to inflate its books and obfuscate its less sexy role as an overhyped data consultant. What is your response to that?
The Bear Cave is a bear cave. They can stay in their bear cave. We're a profitable software company. Those are interesting critiques of us, and we have the best products in the market, and that's why they're profitable, and we will win.
Wanted to give you the right response. That was all. The core of Palantir's pitch, right, is that you have this experience in managing sensitive, classified, often data networks or closed networks. How does that work in the training of the LLMs that are going into AIP? Is it difficult when you have that kind of restriction on the data source?
It's a very, very, very important technical question. To use LLMs at scale in a classified and sensitive environment, you have to have something like a data model that trains the data model, and something like branching and access control. Those products take decades to build. We have them. But if you have those products, you can segment in real time what the...
They're already built?
They're already built. They're already part of all of our core products. They're part of PG, they're part of Foundry. We roll them out to our current customers. Many of our customers have not needed to use these. They now need to use them. Why do they need to use them? Because if you in any environment, you're going to have records that you're going to have data and insights you're not going to share with the large language model. You're going to have data and insights you do want to share, and you're going to have a hybrid, and that requires a segmenting, branching architecture. And one of the things we built over the last 10 years randomly, because we thought it would be valuable someday, was that.
Which just shows how prophetic some of this guy's insights are. So for all you Alex Karp haters, this is how brilliant this guy is. He was building something, and he didn't know what it would be good for. He thought that it would be good for something, and now this is the reason why they can act so fast on this AI boom, or this large language model boom that has come.
For our Bloomberg radio and television audiences worldwide, we are with Dr. Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir. An interesting case study is Ukraine. You've deepened your relationship and activity with Ukraine using AI in one case to help with reconstruction. Yeah. How else? Explain how it works.
By the way, my real answer to the short people is ask the Russians.
What do you mean by that?
It's like, we can't save it. Ask the Ukrainians, ask people who are on the battlefield, ask people who have been subject to...
You're talking about the effectiveness
effectiveness of our product.
Okay.
So it's like, there's very little we can say. You can read what the Ukrainians are saying they use. Targeting, according to reports, has gone up, given the use of AI by products, potentially ours, from like by 20 to 50x. These products have changed the course of history, and they will continue to change the course of history, and I'm super proud of that.
Do we already have, in the military use case, an arms race between powers like the US, Russia, China, specifically in the field of artificial intelligence?
Yes, and we have an advantage, and if we don't get out of our own way, we might actually continue to
When
win.
you say we get out of our own way, what do you mean by that?
Well, you know, America has the best software companies in the world. The software companies largely come from a sliver of America. They produce products. We need to get to a point where 1% of our spend on defense goes to products that have been proven on the battlefield, not PowerPoints. And so, like, in the large language model and the generalizable AI, we are far ahead. Call it a year or two. But we must actually implement. And there's a huge debate. Part of the debate, of course, is these things are very dangerous. If we didn't have vicious adversaries, we should slow it down, but we do. But we also have lots of people who don't want to roll this out because they have nothing to roll out. And so there's like the debate machine about rolling this out is partly for legitimate reasons because this could be dangerous, partly for security reasons you brought up, but there are architectures that will allow you to deal with this as a product like Palantir and hopefully someday others. But there's also the debate machine because there are only 3 or 4 companies in the world with anything to sell. And everyone else wants to debate, why should we do this? How should we do this? Can we play catch up? Can we talk about this in 5 years? That really plays into our adversaries' hands, and we really have to avoid that.
The long-term concern that came up 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago is an existential threat from AI. You talk at Palantir about bending AI to a collective will.
Well,
do you share the concern, though, about an extinction-level event?
There's a lot going on there. Are these things dangerous? Could they become potentially dangerous? Could they become... Yes. But what these debates ignore is either we will wield them or our adversaries will wield them. It is much better if we wield the technology than our adversaries who do not respect our norms, do not respect the rule of law, and do not respect the way we want to live in freedom. So that's point one. Point two, in the near term, what Palantir will allow you to do is make these things really, really valuable commercially and in the military context. And in commercial context, you have to do it because if you don't buy our product, your competition will. In the military context, we have to do it because our adversaries will build those products.
Right. You talked about the competitive landscape. I actually wanted to ask you about C3 AI as an example, because you come up in bidding processes with them.
Actually, look, this is a massive market. We actually don't come up with bidding processes anyway. And I'll tell you what I think about everyone.
So you don't have any competition?
Let me just tell you about this competition thing that Wall Street analysts love. It's complete BS. This is an infinite market, basically. Try what we're doing and try what everyone else is doing, and buy the thing that creates the most value.
On an infinite market, Bloomberg Intelligence.
Again, maybe I'm just hallucinating, but he said it doesn't matter even if we have he normally doesn't even acknowledge competition. Now he went from a complete different angle. He's like, this market is so big, it doesn't matter. And if you're not buying from me, your competition is going to be buying from me. I mean, look at the confidence level, look at the stuff that he's saying. Maybe I'm hallucinating, but I think it would be a very educated guess. Very important to emphasize, it's a guess at this point that their revenues are going to significantly reaccelerate in the future.
Put out this research report this morning that says generative AI as a market will be 1.3 trillion in 2032. That requires compound annual growth of about 40% a year from this point over a decade. Do you see that as realistic?
Well, what I see, I don't know.
Based on the markets you operate in.
Look, these experts just make stuff up. But what we know is this is a large, basically impossible to measure market. And what we also know is everybody in the U.S. is going to find ways to become more efficient and better using software, and a lot of that software is going to be AI-driven. We also know that the market, over time, not in a quarter, will end up picking the best products. That's what we know.
In the United Kingdom, my home country, the FT is reporting that within the NHS, as a case study, there is some concern about deepening the data relationship with Palantir. What would be your answer to those concerns?
Look, outside of America and in the UK, there are legitimate questions that get asked. Where's the data going to go? How is it moved? Who touches it? Does it get exported to the US? Can we verify how it was used under what context? And can we make sure that the underprivileged people of the UK actually get the same treatment as the privileged people, including not just in treatment, but future treatment, which is a huge issue in the UK because there's a backlog. So how do you deal with the backlog equitably? Palantir provides the most robust, transparent software in the world, which is part of the reason we're having an AI bonanza, because to make AI work, you have to show how it works. How did the transform work? How does the branching work? How does the ontology work? How does it map to LLM? This is exactly what you have to show in a hospital context. Who worked with the patient? Under what condition? What doctor? Was the person equitably and fairly treated? What happens to backlog? By the way, we've proven we can do this as a product safely, efficiently, and under the hardest conditions in the UK. And I really hope we win that for our sake, but also for the sake of our UK employees and others that we greatly respect, and because transparency leads to the fairest, most ethical, and justified outcomes you can get.
That was the interview, and this makes me very, very bullish about Palantir. Again, want to emphasize, I'm not predicting a stock price. It's impossible to predict a stock price, and I'm not predicting a future outcome. It's gambling or educated guessing at this point, but the confidence of him, the stuff that he's saying, that they're getting. I mean, if I know in my business that if I speak to 10 new customers, I have 2 sales, and suddenly I'm telling you that I'm speaking to 100 customers, then wouldn't you think, okay, then I will have 20 sales if it's 10x the customers? So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if this makes you more bullish about Palantir, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.